I thought that was going to end before it did, but it was beautiful. Thank you, Lizzie French. I'm here before Steve because Worship and Arts has prepared the sign-up sheet of the volunteer duties on Sunday mornings for the next 2 months. And during Steve's welcome and during Judy's fellowship life, we'll be passing it around and sign up as often as you'd like. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Steve Kripe, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of this congregation. Welcome to all of you. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart is a welcoming community. We encourage religious freedom, nurture individual spiritual and ethical growth, celebrate diversity, and promote contributing to a just and sustainable world. If you would like to learn more about this fellowship, please look at our website at uufe.org and join us after the service for our coffee hour. We meet in the gathering place through the photo gallery right after the service. For the listening enjoyment of all, we ask you at this time to please turn off your cell phones to the vibrate mode. Also, if you need hearing support, please ask for help at the sound desk located to the rears of the sanctuary. Thank you.
Gee, I have my choice of microphones today. Hi, I'm Judy Darnell with the Fellowship Life. And don't forget that the focus deadline is Wednesday. So committee chairs and secretaries, please submit a brief note about your committee's activities by 5 p.m. to Mike or me. Everyone else is welcome to share news as well if they have something going on that they want us to know about. Ron Gill has sent an email message giving a link to the UUA's proposed changes to the UUA's Article 2. To make sure that everyone has access to the document, Mike and I will include a copy of the proposal in the next focus. And I think I might have forgotten, I was going to post one on the bulletin board by the ladies' room. I will do that if I have it in my other yellow folder. I brought both of them today. Children and everyone else, we have a special story this morning, so please sit quietly in your chair until after the story. And that comes after they pass the money plate. And last Sunday, our attendance was 53, and I neglected to check how much the offering was. And this week's will be shared with the food pantry, the one that we have here. Okay, thank you. Our chalice lighting this morning is number 657 in your hymnal, the responsive reading. It matters what we believe. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies.
Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling, ever growing with the upward thrust of life. Thank you. We will now share in listening to a morning, after we do the covenant. Please read it with me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. This is our con. Now Steve Kripe will share with us his morning musing.
I have supported the SPLC, which is the Southern Poverty Law Center, for several years. I was always impressed with their program titled Teaching Tolerance, which began in 1991. From an outsider looking in, what I was reading was impressive, and it had my support. The SPLC offered a full curriculum to public school corporations on teaching tolerance. However, the use of the word tolerance evolved to the recently designed program called Learning for Justice. This change contains much more comprehensive material than the original format. I bring this up because when we talk about LGBTQ issues, putting those issues in the context of tolerance is insulting, in my view, to anyone identifying with differing pronouns. Those looking on from the outside, meaning any non-LGBTQ person, we need to be much more than just tolerate this reality. I believe we must embrace it completely with unconditional acceptance. To accept all individuals in the human family is a minimum standard to live by, in my opinion. Born a white, heterosexual, mainstream, privileged male may not make me much of an expert or even a person of interest who has much to contribute to this issue, other than the fact that I am talking about my fellow brothers and sisters put here on this earth with whom I wish to peacefully and faithfully coexist. Compassion and love and acceptance have no race, gender, color, political, theological barriers or boundaries defining their display and use. Born a sensitive individual, I have been inspired since my high school days to better understand and relate to and be friends with my LGBTQ brothers and sisters. In my youth, a more derogatory queer was used to refer to them, and I remember getting a backhand across my face at the dinner table from my stepfather for using that reference. I'm not sure if you all agree with me, but I really believe today's reference to queer has a much different and more positive connotation than it did in 1955. My point this morning is to say that I have intentionally tried to educate myself to better understand about all persons who are different from myself. The UUFE community has been very helpful to me in this process, and other than the fact that I have very few immediate family members who identify as LGBTQ, my interest and concern about this human reality has been strengthened and enhanced by reading many books on the subject. I am extremely dry today. Mel White's book, Stranger at the Gate, To Be a Great Christian in America, was one of my first. I also had the pleasure of meeting Mel at Manchester University in November of 1998. He received extreme condemnation for his message after a letter in the local newspaper was signed by pastors from 4 conservative congregations in North Manchester. On a larger scale, he was nationally falsely accused and chastised by Jory Falwell. Early in his life, Mel was a spokesperson, giving voice to the Christian right. But he committed the sin of admission and confession, which sent his life in a completely new direction as a result. The first book I ever read on the subject was Eric Marcus's book, Is It a Choice? Answers to 300 most frequently asked questions about gays and lesbians. After reading this book, it was obvious to me that there is no way these lifestyles are chosen by individuals knowing the social suicide they could be facing. They are created this way, pure and simple. A big takeaway I received from a publication of several essays edited by Bruce Bauer titled Beyond Queer, Challenging Gay Left Orthodoxy, is this quote: homosexuality does in fact exist as an identifiable and involuntary characteristic of some people, and that these people do not, as a matter of course, suffer from moral or psychological dysfunction. That it is, in other words, as close to natural as any human condition can be. One of the most heart-tugging books I ever read about AIDS was the wonderful collection of life events of individuals in Charlie Garfield's book, Sometimes My Heart Goes Numb, Love and Caregiving in the Time of AIDS. The original social stigma about this condition was choking. And I quote now from the book, when Danny, he's the name of a caregiver, talks about hanging out with pain, he is describing that kind of deep listening that is key to the Shanti model of caregiving. Shanti was an early San Francisco, California group working with AIDS patients. It requires intent listening to the clients and to one's own intuition, and it requires not trying to do or to fix. It's a way of being fully present for another person and bearing witness to his or her struggle. It may also open the door to profound experiences. This reminds me of my experience with the hospice model of caregiving. All of the patient and caregiving experiences in this book were the heart-numbing events aptly referred to in the title of the book. The mind-numbing reality of this chronic immunodeficiency was the foot dragging by the U.S. government in getting research funding appropriated for the care and treatment of this pandemic at the time. It took a social protest demonstration in 1981 to the summer of 1993 until the NIH Revitalization Act got passed that funding was available. And then only by additional blood and sweat of demonstrations by patients, families of patients, social activists, etc. ACT, you remember the group ACT? ACT UP, actually. That needed the support was obtained. After reading one particular book, I felt compelled to give a copy as a gift to Eliza DeBeck. The story of Sarah McBride, with a foreword by Joe Biden, in Tomorrow Will Be Different, Love, Loss, and the Fight for Trans Equality, is absolutely inspiring. Her amazing story led her to the hallowed halls of the United States government, as in 2019 was the National Press Secretary of the Human Rights Campaign. We all have so much to give to each other on this life on earth. The sadness is that so many gifts are not welcome from those with whom we differ. I am so grateful that is not true here in this sacred space of UFE within our beloved community.
Thank you so much, Steve. If that doesn't inspire you to give a lot this morning, I don't know what will. It is time to gather our offering. And our offertory today is our privilege to hear a song written and performed by Carl Rust.
Who do you see when you look at me? Do you see who I really am? Do you see who you want to see? Can I be who I really am? I'm afraid to let you see inside me. Wonder what you will think. Will you judge me for who I love? Or will you judge me for who I am? Who I am, who I am inside me. When I look into the mirror, I see a beautiful flower. All the colors of the rainbow, love flowing through my veins. That's who I am inside me. Forget the ignorance, forget the hate. I hope you do before it gets too late. Forget the ignorance, forget the hate. Hope you do before it gets too late, too late. Who do you see when you look at me? Do you see who I really am? Do you see who you want to see? Can I be who I really am? Who I am inside me.
I'd like to invite all the kids and people who feel like kids today to... Sorry, yes, microphone, that's what it's for. I'd like to invite all the kids and people who would just like to be kids for the next 5 minutes to come sit down front, because we would like you to sort of be real close for the story. And this is Karen over here. She's a kid this morning, and she does a real good job of it. And Laura, because she's always a kid. We're going to tell you a story today called The Little Love. It was written by Katrin Higbee, and this is the very first time it has been told to a group of people. So this is like the world premiere performance, and we're all here. It's the story of a mother bunny and her baby bunny, or baby something. At some points, you will hear the mother bunny speak one line.
I still love you.
And when you hear that, you can say it with her.
Once upon a time, a mother rabbit and her baby bunny lived in a cozy burrow in a forest. One day, the baby bunny decided she didn't want to be a bunny anymore. So she said to her mother.
I am not a bunny anymore.
Her mother smiled.
Okay, not a bunny. I still love you.
The mother rabbit nuzzled her child's cheek.
If you are not a bunny, what are you?
I am a mouse, and I don't hop.
Okay, mouse, you are still my little love, even if you don't hop.
The little love did mouse things like crawling, nibbling, and sniffing. After a few days, the little mouse didn't want to be a mouse anymore. So she said to her mother,
I'm not a mouse anymore.
Okay, not a mouse. I still love you. If you are not a mouse, what are you?
I am a squirrel, and I climb trees, and I don't live underground.
Okay, squirrel, you are still my little love, even if you don't live underground.
the little love did squirrel things like finding acorns, digging holes, and hiding acorns. The squirrel even climbed a tree. After a few days, the little squirrel didn't want to be a squirrel anymore. So she said to her mother,
I'm not a squirrel anymore.
Well, okay, not a squirrel. I still love you. If you are not a squirrel, what are you?
I am a dog, and I run, and I am not quiet.
Okay, dog, you are still my little love, even if you are loud.
the little love did dog things like barking loudly, running, and panting. After a few days, the little dog didn't want to be a dog anymore. So she said to her mother,
I'm not a dog anymore.
Okay, not a dog. I still love you. If you are not a dog, what are you?
I am a cloud, and I float. I don't stay in one place.
Okay, cloud, you are still my little love, even if you cannot be pinned down.
the little love did cloud things like floating, drifting in the wind, and making rain. After a few days, the little cloud didn't want to be a cloud anymore. So she said to her mother,
I am not a cloud anymore.
Okay, not a cloud. I still love you. If you are not a cloud, what are you?
I am a rainbow. I am very colorful, and I stretch forever.
Okay, rainbow, you are still my little love, even if you don't blend in.
the little love did rainbow things like making sure the colors were in order, stretching very big after storms, and being happy as the sun shone through her. After a few days, the little rainbow didn't want to be a rainbow anymore. She said to her mother,
I am not a rainbow anymore.
Okay, not a rainbow. I still love you. If you are not a rainbow, what are you?
I am a snake. I can eat bugs, and I can hide where no one will find me.
Okay, snake, you are still my little love, even if you are hiding.
the little love did snake things like slithering, tasting the air, and hiding in the grass. After a few days, the little snake didn't want to be a snake anymore. So she said to her mother,
I am not a snake anymore.
Okay, not a snake. I still love you. If you are not a snake, what are you?
I am a kitten, and I purr and lay in the sun.
Okay, kitten, you are still my little love, even if you are different.
The little love did kitten things like running very fast, eating grass, and scratching things with her claws. After a few days, she still felt like a kitten. She did more kitten things like pouncing, slinking, and sleeping curled up in a ball. So she said to her mother,
I am still a kitten.
her mother smiled and booped the little love on her kitten nose.
Okay, kitten, I still love you. You will always be my little love, no matter how you change.
The little kitten curled up with her mother and hugged her tightly. The end.
Thank you all very much.
The hymns we've chosen this morning might be unfamiliar to you tune-wise, but the words are extremely appropriate. So Lizzie's going to play the hymns through all the way through as an introduction, and then we'll sing those two verses on 146. Stand if you're willing and able. Soon the day.
It's a privilege to welcome Miles, I'm sorry, is it Penninger or Penninger? Miles P. He's new to our pulpit, but He is known to many of us because he's been among us for a number of months now, and often coming with his son, Conrad. Carson! I called him Connor, and then it's like, yes. Okay, anyway, he was here this morning, now he's with the other kids in back. Miles? Okay, great. You'd think I'd never done this before. Miles offers life coaching for, but not exclusively for, the trans community. And he loves talking about the trans community and educating others about it. And this is what he will be doing this morning as he tells us about the journey of Miles.
Hi, everybody. I'm pulling out a folder, but don't be scared. I'm not using all of it. I brought it because in here is a whole lot of very important information about me. I've had to carry this folder around with me for almost 3 years now. And I've had to do that because according to the state of Indiana, when you do a name and gender change, you have to carry around documentation about who you were to who you are for 3 years, or it's against the law. Yeah. So for 3 years, you have to carry around a folder that says who you used to be to who you are. Now, how many of you that got married had to carry around a folder like that? It's just not fair. And if you don't have it, you can either get a ticket or you can spend time in jail because it's considered identity fraud. Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff with the transgender community. And I get a little shaky when I talk about it, you guys. I'm sorry. It's very, very special to me. I didn't know the word transgender before, I would say, 2000, 2002. It wasn't something that we used in our everyday life. I was born in 1982 here in Elkhart, and I had no idea who I was. I told my parents I didn't feel like a girl. I told my friends I didn't like my body. Nobody knew how to help me. Nobody knew what to do. Elkhart has always been in a little hole all by itself, and things that happen in New York or LA would never happen here because that's the walls that Elkhart has put up. It started to become a little bit more known, not quite really accepted, but it's okay. And so that's why I started my business after I transitioned, because before transitioning, I had no idea what the transgender community was going through. I had no idea what I was signing up for when I found the words to describe who I was and what I was about. I woke up one morning and I felt completely dead inside. I mean, it was just a one-day awakening. I did not like who I was. I did not like who I stood for. I didn't like how my life was. It wasn't to the point to where I didn't want to live anymore. It was to the point to where I wanted to be able to live better. And so I carried that around with me all day, and I waited. And I went up to my spouse, Charlie, and I said, "We need to talk." And Charlie instantly knew that I was going to leave. I was ready to be done. At least that's what Charlie thought. And I said, I don't know who I am. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But I know I'm not supposed to be right here, right now. And Charlie said, well, let's find out. And so I found a doctor that specializes only with the LGBTQ community. And before that, you could not call me part of the rainbow. You couldn't call me a lesbian. You couldn't call me any of that. The only thing that you could call me was either my name or my nickname, MJ. Because I was not going to be labeled by the world of something that I was not. And I was very, very passionate about what I was not. I just didn't know who I was. So from there, I went and I talked to the doctor and I said, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I stand for, but I can tell you what I'm not. And she goes, that's awesome. She said, here, go home and read this. And it was a pamphlet about this big. And she said, find out everything else that you are not, and then come back to me. So I spent some time reading it. I was asking Charlie questions. I found about 5 friends that I really, truly trusted with my innermost deep thoughts. And I said, will you tell me who I am? Because I didn't have the words for it. And then after a little while, I walked up to Charlie and I said, I think I'm transgender. And for a lot of you, that might be very uncommon wording, which transgender just basically means that you do not feel that you are in the right body that you were born as. That's all that it means. It just means that you want your body to align with your heart and your soul. There's nothing scary about it. And nobody should ever try to force a transgender person into the corner, but we do. And it's really, really sad. So from there, I went and I started talking to the doctor, and the doctor said, if you want to transition, you have to go to therapy. Okay, everybody goes to therapy. I went to the therapist and she looked at me and she goes, I think we need to talk about your childhood. And I said, I think you're wrong. I said, my childhood has nothing to do with why I'm here today. I said, we're not turning this into a 4-year battle. I said, I want to talk to you about who I really think that I am. And she said, I'm proud of you. She said, therapists have to start there because that's what we're taught. We want the full story. I said, give me a couple meetings with you and then I'll give you the story. I said, but you're not going to sit there and try to write a book on me. That's not why I'm here. And so we talked. And after about meeting with her for about 4 or 5 times, she goes, I think you need to figure out what your name is and what you identify as, because I can tell you who you are, but you need to know. And so it was about another meeting or 2, and I said, you want to know what? I said, I think I'm trans-masculine, which means I was born female, I identify as male, and masculine just means that I'm male-male. Trans-feminine means that you're a boy, but you're a softer boy, which is fine. It takes all men to be in this world. So going from there, I went back to the doctor and I told the doctor what I found out. I don't know my name, but I know who I am. And she said, great, let's start you on treatment. I just need signed off by the therapist. And she goes, I know I'll have that. She goes, you've given a whole lot of information to me. And I said, great. It was about less than a month later that I started taking testosterone so that I could start aligning my body with how I felt. And I've been on testosterone now for about 3.5 years. And trust me, I was not this furry when I started. It all lines up with your genetics. You don't automatically start taking testosterone. Some men that start taking testosterone cannot grow any facial hair. It's all genetics. So they have to be okay with that. And sometimes it's very hard on them. But people don't understand. People, part of the LGBTQ, don't want to get into therapies or certain professions because that means that people are going to know who they are. And that's really, really scary for a lot of people. Luckily for me, I have a very, very big backing because I wrote a letter to everybody I knew because I could not talk to them because I was afraid of what they were going to say. And I told them, I said, either you back me or you back away from me. Because for my mental health, I have to have that. You're either with me or against me. And I said, if you're against me, don't talk to me, don't talk about me. For a little while, things were kind of quiet. And I told Charlie I was really worried that I was going to lose a lot of my family. But slowly but surely, they all started coming back one by one. And I have most of my family back now. And they're okay with it. They don't understand it, and that's fine. I mean, think about it. Men, do you guys fully understand women's hormones? And do you fully understand what women go through with periods, menopause, not looking good in their clothes? You don't, you can't. But you can sympathize with them. Women, can you fully understand when your husband or boyfriend or significant other comes up to you and says, I really botched that one up. I wish I would have been able to take better control. You can't understand that because you don't understand what that man is going through when he says, I was not able to take that much control. It's the exact same thing. So sympathizing with is perfectly fine. And trust me, if you have any questions at all, I am more than willing to answer them. Because I rather answer them than you guys wonder or you guys think wrong. I am going to share with you guys, I'm not going to talk about, but I do have the Indiana equality profile from 2021 that was released in 22 about how Indiana takes care of their transgender community. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the overall tally is 6.5 out of 42.5 points. Indiana did not even hit 10%. So, I'm sorry, it was just over 10%. So I'm gonna put that out there. If you guys wanna look, there's some things that I highlighted that I was talking with people about. But in Elkhart alone, there is almost 22,000 transgender people. And most of them are hiding. Which in the trans community, that's called stealth. That means that they do not want anybody to know that they're trans. That means that they go out walking next to you and they refuse to let you know how they feel. It's not fair, but some people feel that they have to live that way. I wrote a little thing that I shared with some people, and I want to share it with you. And this is a lot of people's daily thoughts. It says, "Hello, can you hear me? Are you able to see me? Not what you see, but me. Can you see me? Did you notice me walking next to you when you crossed the street? Did you see me standing next to you in line to vote about the topics that really matter? Did you even notice I was not like you? This is what keeps me going. This is what I think about when I drop my kids off at school, a place to worship, at the movie theater, or even when we go bowling. Do you know who I am? Am I okay here? Are my children okay here if you find out who I am? This is why I started my business. And this is why I'm so loud about the transgender community, because a lot of people ask that, but they're afraid to say it. When I went and I wrote up some statistics that really kind of go along with what Steve was sharing earlier about the state of Indiana. And you guys are probably going to be really surprised when you hear about this. These statistics were released in late 21. Now, like I said, a lot of the transgender community goes stealth, so a lot of people don't know about this. And the statistics are about the jobs and dealing with the transgender community. Now, out of those 22,000 residents, 9% are unemployed, 31% live in poverty, 12% lost a job because of gender expression, which means that they went to work and they tried to say who they were, and their work said, "I'm sorry, but we can't have you here," which is not against the law. There's nothing that you can do if you try to express yourself and the job says, "I'm sorry, but you don't fit in here." That's fully legal. 12% were verbally or sexually assaulted or harassed until they left. And 24% were told that they had to use the wrong restroom from how they felt. When I was working in the factory, the place that I worked at, I went to my supervisor and I said, "Okay," I said, "I'm fully prepared to leave my job, depending on how this goes." And he goes, "Why would you say that?" He goes, "You're one of the best forklift drivers that we have here." And I said, "Because I don't know what's going to happen after you and I talked." Now, I fully trusted this man, fully trusted him. I talked to him about taking my kids down to Indy because of tests or treatments or stuff that they had to go through. Like, this man knew my life. He didn't know my deep secret, though. My deep secret that I wanted to transition. So I told him, I said, "Look, I don't know who I am. You don't know who I am. I want to transition, but I want to do it safely. I think I'm okay with you, but I don't know how the rest of the shop is going to treat me." And he goes, "I'm going to have to go talk to HR." And I said, "Okay." So he left me just right there. Not another word was said about what I had told him. He came back about 2 hours later. I had this on my mind. I really thought I was going to have to go home and explain to Charlie that I lost my job because I said what I felt. And he goes, "We have no idea what to do. We've never had this in our company." And I said, "Well, my first thought would be you would ask me what I need." And he goes, "That is a good start. What do you need?" And I said, "I don't know. But when I find out, I'll tell you." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "You tell me what you need." He goes, "And then I'll take it to HR and we will see if we can accommodate." Okay. I said, "But I have a question for you." And he goes, "What's that?" I said, "If I came up to you and I said, I found out that I have diabetes and I need to refrigerate my insulin, would you say we would see if we need to accommodate?" And he goes, "I really don't like you, MJ." And I said, "You're welcome." So I got called to HR the very next day. I did not know that I had an ally in HR. Now, an ally is somebody who is straight but wants to help someone who's in the rainbow, the LGBTQ. She goes, "I'm going to tell you something off the record." I said, "Okay, what's that?" She goes, my nephew just came out as trans last week, and I've been doing a bunch of research. And I have no idea what I'm walking into, but I know that the whole entire rest of the family walked away from him. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, let's figure this out together." And she goes, "Do you want to change your name?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "But I'm fine with MJ." She goes, "If you want to change your name, you let me know and we will accommodate." I said, "Thank you." She goes, "Are you going to be changing your clothes?" I said, "Not at work. I do that at home." And she said, "Okay." She said, "If you want to change your clothes," which I dressed very butch anyways when I was in the factory because I was a forklift operator. I was inside, outside, up, down, crawling. I never wore nice clothes there. But that's what they labeled me at work, is that I was butch, which just means a very rugged female. And it was about 3 months afterwards, I said, "I do not feel comfortable going into the women's restroom." And she goes, "We'll have to see what we can do about that." I'm fine with that answer. That was a very political answer. That's okay. That just means that they're going to look into. Doesn't mean that they're going to do anything about it. I didn't say anything else about using the restroom. Now, I'm going to remind you, 24% of the transgender community is forced to use the wrong restroom. And I was starting to get a little bit of stubble on my face. I was cutting my hair differently. People were starting to notice change at work. I still did not let out that I was trans to the shop. And we had just over like 200 people there. And I said, "Christy," I said, "I'm really worried that a female here," and I had my suspicions on a few, "are going to try to say something if I keep on using the women's restroom." I said, "But I'm afraid that if I start using the men's restroom, I'm going to be harassed because I was born without a certain part." And she goes, "Okay, we'll see what we can do." Okay, I appreciate that answer. The owner of the business came in to talk to me and goes, I'm out of my realm. I don't know how to help you. I don't know if we can help you. Do you have any suggestions? And I said, we could act like we were in school and start taking potty breaks. And he goes, I don't think that's going to help the production. I said, what if I was to use the bathroom inside the office? I come into the office anyways to drop off paperwork. And he goes, as long as it doesn't take away from your job. He goes, I think that we can do that. So for about 8 months, anytime I had to use the restroom, I had to go all the way into the office. It's okay. I don't mind that. I'm safe there. I don't have people harassing me when I'm trying to just use the restroom. I don't have to worry about comments. People think that I just have a medical issue from my doctor. I do. The issue is I found out I'm not who I am. So from there, I said, I want to try to start using the bathroom out in the shop, and I want to see what happens. And so I asked a couple of friends that I knew would be there to protect me, make sure that there's no one in there when I walk in. I don't care who's in there when I walk out. We can do that. I got harassed about 3 times, and I started using the bathroom inside the office again. And then I went to work one day, and I got on the microphone, or on my walkie, and I said, I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel. I don't care what words you use. I said, I am not going to be bullied over just using the restroom. And I said, either you can accept me or you can just not talk to me. I mean, I literally told that to my family. Why was I afraid to tell that to people that had nothing to do with me except for we shared the same space for 8 to 10 hours? After that, a lot of things changed. People that were bullying me found out that I wasn't going to be quiet and that I wasn't going to allow them to walk over me anymore. And so the bullying stopped, except for a few people. One person asked me, they said, are you going to go and tell the supervisor? I said, are we in kindergarten? I said, we clock out at the same time. We can go across the street and handle this. And he goes, no. He goes, I can't hit a woman. I said, are you planning on bringing one with you? And after that, he never once referred to me as a woman after that, because he saw that that's not how I saw myself. During COVID 2020, I figured out the world is shut down. Now is a great time to try to figure out how to change my name and gender, because nobody's working. So let's try to start this process. What should have only taken me about a month and a half ended up taking me almost 6 months, because the world was shut down and I have perfect timing, but it's okay. I got a hold of a lawyer down in Indy, and I said, I don't have any money. I don't have any communication up here in Elkhart on what to do. I don't even know who to talk to. I said, but can you help me? And she goes, this is exactly what I do. She goes, we are part of the LGBTQ community, but there's so many people who want to transition that there's not enough lawyers to help. She goes, well, there are, but they don't want to. So I have pulled away from everyday legal problems to just transitioning people. And I said, awesome. When are you coming? She goes, I'm not. She goes, there's 3 judges that we assign people to. One, we know that he will not question as long as you do all the steps to transition. And then 2, as long as they're having a good day, you'll be fine. Well, if you break the law and the judge is having a good day, you'll be fine on your sentencing. So let's see what happens. Excuse me. Back in the beginning when I stood up here, I told you that there was a whole bunch of paperwork I had to carry around. And this is that paperwork that I was talking about. I had to, like I told you, go to my doctor, say I didn't know who I was or what I wanted to be. I just knew I was born in the wrong body. And so this is the packet that was sent to me. My lawyer said, fill it out. Everything has to be filled out. You cannot leave a 1-line blank. She goes, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a caseload of 250 transgender people in Indiana that I'm trying to help. It's going to take me probably about 3 weeks to get to your email if you send me an email today. And you have to, she goes, from the first time that you fill out this paper, the very first paper, and turn it in, you have got 2 weeks to get step 2 done. She goes, I'm just letting you know. So if you have a question and you email me, you're going to miss your deadline. And you're going to have to start all over. Okay, I'm on my own. That's fine. I have Google. We found out just a couple weeks ago that Google is great, right? So I'm talking to some people that I know have transitioned. They're not quite sure how to help me because the paperwork had changed so much since they had transitioned. They didn't know what to do. So I go and I file my first thing of my first set of paperwork. I've got 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I've got to go and get my ad put in the Goshen paper. Yeah, an ad. I have to put it in the job section saying that I want to change my identity. And you put it there so that if anybody has anything against you, they know how to get a hold of you after you transition. And you have to run that 3 weeks in a row, costing almost $70. And you put it in the Goshen paper because that's where all the bill collectors and that's where all the civil claims go for Elkhart County. I told Charlie this, and Charlie goes, I don't feel comfortable with that. We have children. And I said, I know, but there's no other way around it. So I go up and I talk to the lady and I said, okay, I said, I have a spouse, I have kids, I go to work, I go to church, and now I have to put this ad in the paper. And she goes, don't worry, we don't put in big bold print, someone wants transition. She goes, we're so used to this, we literally stick it right in the middle of the wanted area. And we make sure that everything blends in. Because we know that that puts a target on your back. So I go home, I let Charlie know it's going to be running here soon. Like I said, it has to run for 3 weeks, 3 consecutive weeks. If you miss anything or if the paper accidentally doesn't put it in there, you have to start all over. I said, okay. I said, please do your job. I don't want to do this again. And she goes, we have hired one person to make sure that anybody who puts an ad in the paper, make sure that it runs consecutively so that it's not our fault that you miss your deadline. And I said, I appreciate you. I left there, went to the police department, had to get fingerprinted. Had to send it to the state of Indiana, and I had to send it to the FBI to make sure that I wasn't trying to hide from anything that I had done in my past. And the police officer there had dealt with people that was wanting to transition, and he told me, he goes, they tell you to get 2 copies, I'm telling you to get 3. So that $15 ended up turning into $30. Now remember, I just told my lawyer I didn't have a whole lot of money. I've already paid $60 to put my ad in the paper. I've already paid $30 for my fingerprinting. And they told me that I could either send it electronically, which has a 60% chance of getting there properly, or you can send it through the mail. If you send it through the mail, you have to send it first class. So that's another $15. I said, well, I guess I'm sending it through the mail. There were some times when we were very short on bills because I had to meet this deadline. I could not miss a single step. I'm writing my lawyer as I go. I got this completed. I got this completed. I'm going down the checklist. I'm actually kind of a little ahead of schedule. Is that a problem? 3 weeks later, I get a response. No, that's great. Keep on going. So I'm really glad I didn't have a question. You were right about the 3 weeks. Get everything back that I'm supposed to get all the letters, everything else. I send in and I turn in all my paperwork. I asked the lady at the desk, I said, it's COVID. This says I have to be in person. You guys are saying that you're doing Zoom only. How do I get to my court appointment? And she goes, yes, it's Zoom only. I call up the day of. My paperwork says that the court is in person only, but you're saying Zoom only. What do I do? I live 10 minutes from the courthouse. I have to know where to be. She goes, just like the other lady told you, it's Zoom only. Okay, I've confirmed twice. So that's what it is, Zoom only. I get on my computer and I sit there. And I'm not being let in. I can't see the judge. I can't hear anything. I have no idea what's going on. My court date, or my court time was at 9 a.m. 10:45. I'm still not let into the courtroom. I still can't hear anything. I have no idea what's going on. I text Charlie frantically and I said, are you serious? I did all this work and they're not even going to let me in on the Zoom call? I called the courthouse and I said, I demand to speak with the judge's secretary. She goes, you have no right to demand. I said, yes, I do. This is my life. I demand to speak to the judge's secretary. She hung up on me. I'm at home with my son. He hasn't had his ADD medication because he was at home with me. So he's bouncing off the walls. I tell him, I said, get dressed and don't say a word. And he goes, what's going on? I said, I told you not to say a word. I said, Dad is pissed. Pardon my language. I barreled down to the courthouse. I know that they're going on lunch at noon. It's like 11:45. I make it through the metal detectors. I rush to where the courtroom is. Everybody's telling me courts have stopped. There's no in-person. There's no this, there's no that. And I said, I don't care. I demand to speak to somebody. I find the judge's secretary. And I go, I was told that this was Zoom only. Today is my court date. I have my court papers. She goes, the judge has been waiting on you all day. I said, what? She goes, you can only transition courthouse in person. I thought you wanted this. I said, I do. I said, but I was told that it was Zoom only. She goes, except for transgender paperwork. And for that, you're supposed to be here at 9 a.m. I'm sorry. I said, I did not lose sleep at night. I did not miss deadlines. I did not go through all this to miss my court date. I said, please talk to the judge. I'm begging you. And my son, the whole entire time, he's tugging on my pant leg. Dad, what's going on? I don't know. I said, but I need you to be quiet. And then he started in with the, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I gotta go pee. I said, you're gonna shut up. And he goes, are you mad? I said, I am. I said, but not at you, son. I said, I'm mad because these people are playing with my life and they don't understand it. Luckily, I was loud enough to where the judge actually heard me out in the hallway. And the judge goes, I'm willing to speak for 5 minutes. I walked in, sat down. I apologized for my son being there, but I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I didn't make arrangements for babysitting because I was told that this was Zoom only. He goes, normally it is, but we made an exception because of your paperwork. He goes, you've got everything that you need, but you missed your court date. And I said, that's because I was given the wrong information. He goes, if you want to go through this journey, be ready to have wrong information, probably for the rest of your life. And that's because people suck. I agree. He goes, I heard you out there yelling. I thought you were going to cry in front of your son. And he goes, I'm going to give you the first lesson of being a man. Men don't cry. And I said, no, your generation don't cry. I said, there's nothing wrong with a man showing feelings. And I said, take it from one who's just learning how to be a man. He goes, I don't like your temper. I said, you haven't seen my temper yet. He goes, but I like your passion. He goes, I'm going to give you your court date. And I busted out in tears right in front of him. And I said, look, Judge, a man who cries. He goes, that's just your hormones. You'll get over it. Okay. So my son was able to watch me have my court date to transition. No idea what he was watching. No idea what was going on because he couldn't understand it. He forgot his hearing aids that day. But he got to see the process, and that process will always be with him. And then I went on to fighting to get my birth certificate changed, and my social security card changed, and my driver's license changed. And then I found out the only thing I can't get changed is my marriage certificate. For me to get that changed, we would literally have to get divorced and then remarried underneath my new name. That's the only way to get my marriage certificate changed. So I'm learning how to battle that one right now. I'm trying to find a way to get around that. But that's the story of my transition. That's everything that I went through to be Miles Joseph. I will add in that when people transition, you're going to hear the phrase dead name. Dead name is what they were born with. They don't like talking about that because that's a past. Some things that some people don't understand is people started transitioning back as late as the 1800s. And they with that, hold on, I'm sorry. Back in the 1800s, it wasn't that there was something wrong with their gender. It was that they were considered, that's, Janelle, what was I going to say? Delusional. They were considered delusional, and they needed to be put in straitjackets. It wasn't until the mid-90s when it started becoming a little bit more okay, just not in little towns. And one reason why I'm speaking here today is because it is okay. I'm not delusional. I'm not going crazy. I've been crazy, but I'm not right now. And I'm so grateful that the world does not see it as delusional anymore. And I'm so grateful that I have so many supporters. Something that I did make, if anybody would like one, is I made these pins. And these are called straight ally pins. So what that means is that you do not consider yourself part of the rainbow, but you support people, the LGBTQ. I have about 40 pins here. If I need, I can get some more. The spare funds that I had from my business is what I use to buy and make these pins. I put out on my business page that I'm looking for donations so that I can get more stuff like this. And there's also 3 people that have told me that they need my services, but they can't afford to pay my rate, which I understand. Money's tight for everybody. But if it's something that you would be willing to help with, I told them, I said, if money wasn't a problem, I said, I'd take you on freely without any question. I said, but I've got kids who are hungry and they keep on growing, so I have to buy them clothes. You guys understand that battle. But I'm going to go ahead and open this up for any questions, if any of you guys have any. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I wanted to play a video. Yeah.
Can spin on a dime. Having positive representation can only succeed in changing the conditions of life for trans people when it is part of a much broader movement for social change. Changing representation is not the goal. It's just the means to an end.
I wonder if people who watch and love these shows, I wonder if they will reach out to trans people in need and work to defeat policies that scapegoat us, policies that discriminate against us, policies that dehumanize us. Because until that happens, all that energy from the silver screen won't be enough to better the lives of trans people off the screen.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am drown my